My name is Alec Ross. So I'm Communications and Outreach Coordinator for Save Wildness. For those that don't know, how's this? Right? For those that don't know, Save Wildness is a local independent water nonprofit. I like to tell folks that our name is our mission. We are a 55-year-old independent water NGO dedicated to preserving and restoring water in this watershed. We do this a lot with education, advocacy, legislation, preserving open space. I'm trying to save nature. To be able to think we're very proud of is that we're responsible for helping to preserve that 60% of ocean boundary around the county's natural spaces. Not just for nature, but for the things that people love to do in nature: hiking, fishing, hunting, kayaking, finding themselves there. And it's that part that I want to talk about now. One of the things that I am so grateful to be here speaking to you about, which is finding that peace and finding that connection to the natural world. But before we do that, I just want to speak a little bit on food we might all be familiar with. Thank you for your help in sending me over some information about this. Before I begin my talk, I was asked to speak a bit on a figure whose complicated legacy has been responsible for so many generations finding the value and joy of the natural world. John Muir. Emigrating here from Scotland with his family in 1849, he settled down in Wisconsin, where he attended the University of Wisconsin, later going on to work with many mechanical wonders of the Industrial Revolution. However, after an accident, and almost certainly watching the natural world around him become more harmed by the ever-expanding road industry, he decided and dedicated himself to preserving nature, using it as a catalyst to create change. Muir's accomplished career spans decades and features many notable accomplishments, such as being the first to attribute the spectacular formations of Yosemite to glacial erosion, pioneering forest conservation as early as 1876, founding the Sierra Club, as many of us know, in 1892, and of course working with President Roosevelt to help establish our national parks as we know them, protecting their beauty from commercial exploitation. While it would be all too easy to see Muir as a perfect man and generational hero with no skeletons in his closet, unfortunately the truth is much more gray. It's well known by now Muir's ugly views on Black and Native Americans, seeing this dirty and easy, unfortunately, as well as despite his role in displacing numerous indigenous populations from national parks. That said, just because the person behind the mythos was a very real person with very real faults, doesn't mean that we need to be ashamed for finding value in things that we never show value. We're a part of nature, just like it's a part of us. And exploring that connection, in my opinion, helps us get closer to God and our own spirituality, which is why I wanted to share some of the ways that nature walks and immersing ourselves in nature can help deepen that relationship and connection. So my love of nature and finding joy in the wilderness was deeply shared by not only my family, but also my experiences with Tom Brown Jr. Tracker School, as well as transit mechanism. So I am a graduate of Tom Brown Jr. Tracker School. For those that don't know, it is a wilderness and survival academy right here in the Pine Barrens, right in Watertown. And it was founded by Tom Brown Jr., who was one of the last apprentices of the Southern Apache Elder, Scotland, we know his grandfather. And the school is very much rooted in the principles of Native American philosophy as well as awareness, but also in teaching bushcraft, fire making, water collection, shelter making, you name it. I was always drawn to being out in the woods and doing things like that. I feel like many boys, at a certain age when they hit like 10 or 12, I'm going to go shove off on my own with this, knapsack. I did my standard, my basic survival training in 2019. Spent a week out there off grid learning these skills. And then I was able to do my advanced survival training in 2024. And 2024 was a difficult year for me. So I have obsessive compulsive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. If anyone's familiar with conditions like that, you know that we can sometimes have these peaks and valleys of stress and certainly accentuate that. 2023, 2024 were a couple of those years. It was starting to come out of it, but it was really tough. And I pushed myself at the behest of my lovely fiance. She said, "You need to do this." So I went out, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot. You know, the first week that you're out there with basic is very much kind of like getting that understanding of the skills and learning things, almost kind of like in the moment, right? But in that advanced one, you're out there, you're living it, you're doing it, you're seeing survival, you're keeping you awake, all these things. I didn't know if I had it in me, and the anxiety was really pronounced, and finally I just kind of surrendered myself to like, I'm here, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to shy away, I'm not going to tap out and go home. And some wonderful things happened as a result. I found God in nature. I found peace and tranquility and love of my brothers and sisters who were out there for their own reasons, but saw me and somehow, knew exactly what to say or exactly what to do to help me get through those difficult times. And this feeling that I've never had before happened, which the best way that I can describe it is betting on yourself and knowing you're with. I was able to take those legacies. It was a deeply moving experience, not only just in terms of learning how to survive out there, but just finding myself and finding God out there. It really helped me come out of it. And as a woman Catholic, born and raised, and finding spirituality and nature, and being able to have these things that blend together so beautifully with some power. And it really helped with another thing that I was passionate about, a principle that you may all be familiar with, transcendentalism, the works of Thoreau and Emerson. And that was something that always really resonated with me as a child and as a teenager, being able to find God out there, being able to tap into these skills that were once commonplace knowledge that we have tend to forget in the modern world. And it reminds me of a quote, Dr. Seuss. When we change the way we see the world we see change. And that's exactly what happens when you immerse yourself in nature. When you stop seeing things as just a tree or a bush and see the meaning that they have, their ancestral names, seeing them for the things that they have done to help keep us going as a society, as a species, it's really wonderful. So in the spirit of that, I wanted to share a couple of little nuggets for us. We're here on this beautiful property, and there's all these wonderful pine trees out there, peach pine, or Pinus regina. And it's so much more than a pine tree. I like to tell folks when they're doing nature walks that it is the Swiss Army knife of the forest, and it was revered by indigenous peoples and American settlers alike for its numerous medicinal, edible, and utilitarian benefits. For starters, the pine needles contain about twice the amount of vitamin C as an orange, and in tea, they are a really good fortifying agent. They're also a wonderful pollen extractor to help getting chest congestion out. The pine cones contain edible pine nuts that are tasty, not compared to the wonderful ones from the operation. Pine resin or pitch that we also keep getting on bars is one of the most potent infection-fighting compounds that we can find in nature. Help to treat and prevent infection, as well as drawing out any splinters and things like that. Fun fact for you, it's a wonderful balloon seal. Many of the boats that sail from Barney Bay at one point or another were sealed in pine pitch. It's just a country right out here. Something else that I always love to talk about, go for a walk in the fall, we step on those crunchy leaves and everything. There's something magical happening when we put our feet in that insulating quality those leaves have. And something that always struck me when I was a teenager was Mr. Bird's junior year English class, which is where I was first introduced to transcendentalism, but learning how hunters in the 1800s learned how to survive when they were sleeping rough on the trails by looking at animals taking shelter in the tree pockets. When I was out in tracker school, we learned how to make tree huts. One of the things they always share is kind of funny is the Sasquatch sleeping bag. Gather a bunch of those leaves, as many as you can think of, and some more, and come inside and keep you warm. Shed some rain. Again, this is knowledge that as I share it, it almost kind of sounds like this wild superpower. This was just some holidays, 100 years ago, 20 years ago. One of the other plants that I like to share about is growing literally right called ground up there, which is broadleaf plantain and narrowleaf plantain. And those, there are tiny bananas out there. It's a type of grass, although many see it as a weed. And this was brought over here by Europeans intentionally. Native Americans called it white man's footprint. It was brought over for its wonderful medicinal benefits, helping stop bleeding, but also taking the itch and sting away from bug bites and rashes and things like that. It's brought right there. When we stop, and we look, and we listen, and we immerse ourselves in the natural world, we find these connections. And mindfulness is such a beautiful and wonderful and important tool that we have with that. So one of the exercises that I love to do, I love doing it with kids, I love doing it with the elderly and everyone in between. I call it a senses walk. And some folks might be familiar. If not, we're going to do a little exercise here right now. We're going to do a dry run or a book learned version of it, and then hopefully I encourage you very much to get out into your native natural spaces and try it. You'll be amazed at how much you'll be able to pick up once you do this exercise. It's pretty simple. So we start off, what are 5 things that you can see? Just quietly amongst yourselves, look around this room, and say to yourself, what are 5 things that you can see? Maybe a couple of seconds. Next, what are 4 things that we can hear? Because it's really a little bit quiet. They're a little bit difficult because it's quiet. But I promise you that if you try, you'll probably be able to come up with more than 4 things. Now, 3 things that we can feel. We are clothes on our back, pushing the chair to the same. Right? Feet on the floor. 2 things we can smell. We're not tasting anything. I always make that joke. We're not tasting anything in the woods, right? Not unless I tell you that. No. This wonderful exercise, you'll be amazed at what you realize. It really does ground you. And I always tell folks, especially when I'm doing their nature walks for students and things like that, that generally speaking, it takes about 20 minutes for nature to equalize to you being. And there's different things that we can do to kind of speed that clock up to get the natural world to go back as the beginning of the spring. But going out there and slowly, very methodically practicing these principles, you're going to create less than chucking a giant boulder in the lake, maybe it's just as tiny. You'll be amazed at what shows up. I have the privilege of getting to see red-tailed hawks go through an entire hunt and then eat their meal in the yards of the opportunity to see foxes and hits, the opportunity of see eagles, butterflies, all these things that we tend to miss, not intentionally, not because we don't want to see them, we don't find value in them, but the world that we live in is just such a fast pace. I fundamentally snap the fact I have to find some communication theory for me. The average rate of speech in the United States is 150 words a minute, which is about how fast I'm talking to you right now. In the Northeast, it's about 200 to 250 words a minute, which is about how fast I'm talking to you right about now. And in New Jersey, we can go up to 300 words a minute, which is how fast I'm talking to you right now. So we live in a world where everything's fast-paced. It's happening now. Getting out into nature and slowing our world down is a really wonderful tool to kind of bring back things on purpose. And I have 2 things left to talk about. This actually just popped in my head, and I want to throw it in because it's something that's been wonderful that I've been trying to incorporate in my life. It works, you just have to remember to do it, which that's the hard part. But keeping in mind that mindfulness exercise, when mindfulness was talked, whenever we talk about that to me, I always struggle with it. Is it OCD, because ADD, anxiety, what have you, or the fast pace of the world. Like, how do you know when to be mindful? Right? Like, where's the secret? Like, who's going to be out there and helping you say, hey, this is the moment? And I happen to find it just in a random Facebook post. And I think this is a wonderful lesson in and of itself, that there's incredible resources and lessons that come to you from the strangest of places. calling it a anchorment. In the morning, it's any sensation, feeling, noise, whatever that is impactful to you, and anchor yourselves. Be present. Say, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing this, and it might be this. You will be amazed that by just doing that simple exercise, how much you're able to anchor that day into your mind and slow things down. Because time doesn't look next. We just go on autopilot more and more. By making ourselves stop and take notice of things and have this new novel stimuli, that is going to help slow things down. The other thing is try to do one new thing a day, a deviation routine, right? Maybe if you park typically in the same spot, let's park in a different spot. You take the same route to work, or take a different route. Little things. And lastly, take a 5-second pause between doing tasks. You put the keys in the ignition, wait 5 seconds. Turn it on. You open up your laptop for work, wait 5 seconds. You'd be amazed what's the rush. No one's getting off the ride alive, so we might as well enjoy it while we can. I wanted to close with a quote of John Muir and a wonderful exercise that if anyone wants to just share, I'd like to share. But the quote goes, "As long as I live, I'll hear waterfalls and birds and winds sing. I'll interpret the rocks, learn the language of flood, storm, and avalanche. I'll acquaint myself with glaciers and wild gardens, get as near the heart of the world as I can. I can do something better than that to embody pilgrimage to the joy of the world." Now, I'll close, because I want to make sure that I leave time for the rest of the service, with sharing a little story. Thank you so much for that guided meditation, because that's kind of what I'm going to talk about right now, is that special place in nature. So I have a couple. One is the Eco Center. John Muir, which is the statewide appraised office in this farm. It is a beautiful 40-acre property nestled in the heart of the downtown waterfront district. It's a beautiful kind of oasis. The other one is the primitive camp in the Pines, where I did my survival training. A lot of wonderful memories there. And the other one, which I went back to, thank you for that. Almost brings a tear to my eye. There's a little waterfront park in Island Heights that is up there, Boy Scout Park.
Get out of here! Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, I actually, it takes a lot to make me speechless, because when I share that, no one knows where that little park is.
That is my special place.
That's been my special place since I was 8 years old. My grandmother, God rest, the memory that I go back to all the time is, I never really got to meet and know my grandfather a lot. He passed when I was 3, but he was a mariner his entire life, fought in World War II in the Navy, and he had a boat. And him and my grandmother used to be all around Island Heights and the waterfront all the time. And I remember, probably because I was dealing with some anxiety as a kid, and we went and did like this wonderful day of it, right, where my mom and grandmother took me out around food, went to the bookstore, got a bunch of comics, and went to Boy Scout Island, and we had a picnic there. And that was the happy place whenever I was having a panic attack, or whenever I was struggling with any bad. My therapist would say, you have to do these confidence exercises. That's where my mom and I went. And that memory is where I go. That's where I went. I like to think of that as a God wink, if anyone's familiar with that concept. I went there recently. It's a little bit smaller than I remember. A little less Japanese. But I remember sitting in a tree. But if anyone wants to share their special place in the wilderness, I very much encourage you to do so. Thank you for that. Because that made my day. Thank you all for having me.
to the first place I went. Boy Scout Island is the place that I have gone to since I could drive. I've been going there anytime I need to connect with my soul, and that's where I've always gone. And it's so funny, I was reading what this service was going to be about today, and they said, oh, you should bring pictures of your place of nature. And it was a suggestion, I think, in the round robin. And it's funny, I have a drawing that I did when I was a kid from that place of this little bush that was growing right by the water. And now it's huge. It started as this little thing when I was a kid, and now it takes up like that whole side of Boy Scout Island. So I just, it blew my mind. That was fun. That's so fun. I love that. So cool.
As you probably know, we're birders, so we have had an opportunity to look at wild, wonderful places. And one of my favorite places in Costa Rica is the cloud forest in Monteverde, which is often in the morning for activity tours. If you go in the afternoon, just quiet down and rest yourselves. And I find that prose is fine. I always look at the poems. I had a couple of small poems. The one is Finding the Forest. In the forests of Costa Rica, in the cloud forests of fog and of rain, under the dripping tree ferns and moss, under the rotting wet logs, in the leaf litter, there are beetles that are rarely seen unless you set out to find them. Holding one in your hand, dead now, or beetle hunters killed, I find. Holding one in your hand helps if your eyes are a little short-sighted. You see a shiny gold bug the size of your thumb. Gold of such a perfect metallic sheen, you would swear it had never lived, that some jewel of carved legs and antennae and eyes. If you tear up the logs and scatter the leaves, if you walk through the forest again and again until it is battered and strewn, you will find there are more gold bugs than you ever will need. And the circles will build collections, labs, in the forests of Costa Rica, in the wet cloud forests of everglades, orchids, and vines, if you sit on a log, content only to know that gold bugs hide in the mulch, if you sit on a log while you listen, the forest will talk to you. Let the forest find you. And then I have one short little poem. Paths. Find your own way in the forest. Old trees guarding the paths. Sunlight streaming after the rain. Birds, a burst of color and sound. Pay attention. Know you get one chance to live in this world.
It seems like we're following each other. One of my Costa Rica, my husband and I ran canoe and kayak trips in Costa Rica for 17 years. And spent a lot of time in Monteverde reading, and we also had a bird watching club. You know, did bird counts, and did you ever join them?
We've been Costa Rica 19 times for a month each time.
We spent half a year, 17 years, and birding was absolutely best thing you can do. There are a lot of clubs in Costa Rica. The birding club was an hiking club. Of course, did birding, but we also went for guides all that to bird chasers. Very hard to see some of the birds yourself, no matter what you do. So, but anyway, it's a special piece and just wonderful experiences in my life. So it's fun.
I'm going to share this.
Yes.
So I think it was about 10 years ago. Sonia can correct me, but we took a trip to Alaska. And everybody should at least once in their lifetime go to Alaska. Because, we rented a car. We drove 1,400 miles. Because I wanted to see as much of Alaska as possible. And as you're driving, as you go around every bend, there's a new spectacular sight, and you run out of superlatives to describe what you're seeing. And I remember one thing that stood out the most. We were driving, and there was this stream, a trout stream, that ran parallel to the road. Clear blue, aqua blue water, like pristine water in the stream. You would never see that anyplace else. But in addition to Alaska, Hawaii, I've go to both places. But anyway, Alaska is really special.
Speaking of Hawaii, can I speak of Hawaii?
Yes.
There's so many places where spirit and nature are so strong, especially on this island, the Big Island. In Hawaiian culture, it's believed we're related to all parts of nature, and just like you. And the gods and goddesses and spirits of old Hawaii reflect this. So I feel a deep connection to the spirituality in a lot of places, but the strongest was when I hiked up to Lake Waiau. It's almost at the top of Mauna Kea. See if I can show you. You see that?
No, not yet.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And the lake, it is the province of Waiau, who's the sister of Poliahu, who is the antithesis of the volcano goddess. Poliahu is the snow goddess. And here is a picture of Waiau. And she bathes her sister and refreshes her drinking gourd with sweet water. And at the lake, I hiked up there with a friend. We had to rent a Jeep to go up there. Luckily the altitude didn't bother me. It's at 13,000 feet. But it was just tremendous peace and tranquility and spirituality. I couldn't believe it. And people respect it here. I mean, nobody messes with the lake. They just come and look at it and leave some offerings. I did some Qigong. And any of you that have done Qigong, you make a Qi ball. Usually my Qi ball is about like this big. Well, at the lake, I couldn't get my arms around it. It was incredible. I actually took a photo. You can see how full of bliss I was at the lake. And I wanted to stay there. I didn't want to leave, but my friend reminded me I had promised the cats that I would. So I had to go back. But when we were hiking back to the Jeep, we had rented, I got an alert on my phone that Pele, the volcano goddess, was active. The volcano was erupting on the other side of the island. So we raced down there and we saw the volcano erupting on the same day. I tell you, this island is magical.
Wow.
So.
Well, I almost hate to bring us back to New Jersey. Talk about wanting to stay somewhere. When I was a child growing up in Westfield and Scotch Plains, we would go to Echo Lake Park in Mountainside. And there was a stand of pine trees there that I fell in love with as a child. I just loved those trees. I hugged them. I came home with sap all over me. And I was back many years later when I was doing some photography as a hobby to see them. And they were older, and so was I. But I did get a picture of them. I didn't bring it with me. And there was another tree I fell in love with outside of New Hope. It was on a road that went past a house that I rented. And I would go out to see it, and it had a bifurcated trunk, which is like a common root, and then two trunks up like this, and then the leaves, and I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. So I made it my little pilgrimage every morning. My morning walk was to go see that tree.
I think it's hard to pick one place in nature as a favorite because there's so many places that speak to me. There's a tree in Port Jefferson, my grandfather tree that we always embrace when we walk by it. But one of my favorite places is Sonoma Mills. That's enough to be able to visit there again this year and to share a few photos from there. It's Bell Rock. It's one of the very intense complexes in some of those spots. And we did a meditation there, and we did Qigong there also. I'm sure people thought I was crazy as I was doing this.
Where was that?
Pardon?
Where was that?
Sedona.
Oh, Sedona.
This is Cathedral Rock.
Every rock has a name in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Cathedral Rock is the one up on top in this lower area. And the first time I really experienced intense energy was in Sedona. I was years ago now. It's my fifth or sixth trip to Sedona because to me it's such a sacred, beautiful place. And really connect with nature and to spirituality wherever. So I knew about the meditation and knew that Art was going to do it. And so I was like, okay, we'll just go to the beach. That's my favorite, I think my favorite place. But then she brought in the spirituality piece of it. And my vision or my picture changed to the moon over Barnegat Bay. And I realized the beach may be my favorite place, but my spiritual connection place is the moon over Barnegat Bay. And I have many pictures in my cell phone. It's in my pocketbook because I didn't want it to shine or anything. Just of the moon and the bay and the water, the reflection on the water. And I realized Bobby's usually asleep. I take these pictures because he goes to bed at 9:30. So but to really get a good moon shot, you gotta wait till like 11, 12, 1. And I realized, wow, that's when I say a prayer all the time too. And the prayer is, thank you, Creator, for this beautiful place and all the magic it holds for me.